Here's the part 2 review of the Sun Palace in downtown Cancun from 3 days and 3 noches. And this is actually the first time we are doing a part 2 review. And we actually stayed here 2 separate times within 4 months. So I'm excited to show you the differences. There were a lot, so make sure you watch the entire video so that you can decide whether you think this resort might be right for you. I actually want to start with the Cancun Airport first because you need to know the requirements to get to Mexico and get back to the US to see if you even want to travel to Cancun. So you actually do not need a COVID test or proof of vaccination or anything to go to Mexico. The only thing they give you on the plane are some immigration forms to fill out. Now, but to get back to the US, you do need a COVID test. You don't need proof of vaccination, but if you're not vaccinated, you actually have to do it the day before, which is new. So most resorts will provide this. The Sun Palace was amazing. It was included, it was free. We had our results within 30 minutes. If you are vaccinated, you can do it actually within 3 days. They also require a health questionnaire filled out. I will drop the link below. You can do it right at the airport. It just takes a few minutes. It's vueloseguro.com. And there's also a new tax. It's $10 per person, I believe, but usually the airlines include this in your airfare. So just check on that. So those are things you need to know before even considering going to Cancun. But now that you've landed, what about transportation? So you know that I'm really big on making sure that you set up your transportation before you get to Cancun. And the Sun Palace does not provide it unless you're a Diamond member. So we always use Nacho Tours. I've used him for literally 5, 6, 7 years. 5, 6, 7 times a year, and it's just the most reliable and the safest transportation that I've been able to find in Cancun. In fact, he's now become part of my family, and I get nothing from recommending him, just good karma and knowing that I'm helping people find really good transportation. And I'm also helping his family-owned business. We actually went to dinner and celebrated 3 days and 3 noches and how much it's helping other people. Okay, so back to the part 2 review of the Sun Palace. And I do love the fact that it's only 15 minutes from the airport, especially since I'm usually traveling for 3 days or 3 noches. I want something that's super close. The other thing that the Sun Palace does really good is that if you call ahead of time, which I recommend anytime you go to any resort, you are actually talking to the front desk. So here's Samuel, and this is the person I spoke to before arriving because I wanted to see what the upgrade options were. I wanted to book my tours. I wanted to book the spa. I wanted to be prepared because I learned from the last time for our trip. And so I did upgrade, and I am also a member. So yes, even as a member, I had to upgrade. So I'm going to do a whole other video about the membership. But besides the fact, I did upgrade to the VIP, and I'm going to list in the description what that entails, and you can see if you think it's worth it for you. I did it mostly for the private area on the beach with the waiter service. There's a few other perks, but other than that, I'm not sure how much it's worth it. There were little flaws in it as well, like you're supposed to get a concierge, and you really have to do the work when it comes to that. Another note is that they are cautious still about COVID, so they're cleaning and sanitizing everything on arrival and continually through your stay, and they do ask you to wear masks indoors and at the restaurants. We arrived around 1 o'clock. Check-in is at 3, so our room was not ready yet, unfortunately. However, we had full access to the resort. We were able to eat, we were able to change, use the beach, use the pool, and then finally our room was ready. They let you know through email, and our room was ready at 3 o'clock, so let's take a look. So the room was actually the same exact room that we had last time in terms of the layout, so there's not much to go over in terms of that. If you remember from part 1, if you watched it, we actually started out in a governor suite, but we didn't like the views, and actually the room was just too big for us, so we moved to this smaller room. And it was really important this time that we had the best view. We learned from our last visit that not every single room has the best view. You can be overlooking air conditioning units. So when I called, I made sure to let them know that I wanted one of the best views and the best rooms. And I feel like we did get a really good location. It was room number 314. We were right near the elevators. And also you're going to see that view in just a minute. A few issues. One is the first night, the room did not get cleaned. but all I had to do was make a phone call and they came and cleaned it right away. Also, they didn't come and restock the fridge just automatically. But again, all I had to do, anytime I made a call, they responded right away with whatever I needed. Another thing to note is we were celebrating a special occasion, a 40th birthday. So I had called ahead of time to request that they decorate the room or do something special. So they don't decorate the room or anything like that, but they do come in with some champagne and a really special birthday treat. So they actually got the wrong day. So when we got back to the room, it wasn't there. But again, they came in the next day and it was a nice added touch. So another amazing positive, you might find this weird, was the water pressure. The water pressure was so good. The tub filled up really quickly. The shower was amazing. The temperature was nice and hot. And that's not always the case in a lot of resorts, so I thought it was worth mentioning. Now time for that view. I always say, get that oceanfront room. It makes all the difference in the world. You have to see this. Every morning, I would wake up and just see literally a sea of blue. I did love the fact that we were overlooking the quiet pool as well and not the fun pool like we were last time, just because it was a little bit more quieter, and sometimes I do like to go back to that afternoon nap. So I just really loved the location and the view from this room. Now let's get to the important part. The alcohol. Look at this. They have your own mini bar. Everything is all included here. Like, this is not extra. This is all included. You have your own bottle of wine, but then look at this. You have your own mini fridge. Oops, stocked full. Look at this. Everything and anything that you'd want. Beer, sodas, water. Again, everything's included. Let's look in here. There's some snacks. You have coffee. And then I love this little sitting area too, right here, where you could sit overlooking the ocean. Get the ocean view. So now off to the pool, and I was so disappointed by the pool experience this time. In fact, one of the main reasons why I went back to this resort was because I loved so much the pool experience that I had. And one of the major issues at this resort, and I had touched on it last time, was the lack of seating around the activity pool. But this time the resort was almost at full capacity. You could really tell that it was a lot busier than the last time that we went. So if you did not get up at 6 or 7 o'clock to save seats around the pool, you were not getting seats. And I was not going to get up that early to get seats. Thankfully, the beach experience, which I'm going to touch on later, was so amazing. We never really wanted to sit around the pool. We went to the pool for some snacks, for the guacamole that they made, for the bar, the pool bar, things like that. But we did not really spend any time or do the activities at the pool. Another major difference was the vibe, the overall vibe. Last time there was definitely more of a party vibe, not as much, but this time it was really actually very little at all, especially at the pool. The vibe was much more subdued and less partying going on at the pool. So if that's what you're looking for, this could be the perfect resort for you. We'd like it a little bit more lively, and it was something that was pretty noticeable this time around. Okay, so now off to the beach, and this was one of the best beach experiences I've ever had while on vacation for a few reasons. One is the color of the water. I could not believe the different tones of blues, how clear it was. Also, the temperature of the water was ideal. It wasn't too warm, it wasn't too cold. And then the waves. I'm a person who loves waves in the ocean. I grew up on the East Coast and I'm used to it, so I do love to have waves. One day it was a little rough, it was pulling us over. So just keep that in mind. If you are someone that doesn't like waves in the ocean, a more tranquil water, then it's something to consider, because down here at this portion of Cancun, there's always a lot of waves. It also helped that the weather was completely ideal, and I was actually nervous because last year we went at the same time and it rained 24/7, and usually when we do come to Cancun, there's always a few rainy days, so just keep that in mind as well. It's usually not this ideal when it comes to weather. I also love the fact that you could walk up and down the beach as well. And right before we left, there was actually a huge media hype about a shooting in downtown Cancun. So everyone was asking us about that. But we never felt unsafe. In fact, this was my 9th time there, and things like that have happened before when I've gone. The media tends to blow those things up, especially now. A lot of people don't want you going to Mexico when their restrictions are not as high as some of the other places with COVID and things like that. But it really was a beautiful stretch of beach to walk on. And finally, I am very glad that we upgraded to the VIP concierge level because we got that private area on the beach with service. And we had this guy, Carlos. He was amazing. And since the bar was right there, we never had to wait very long for a drink and always had really VIP service. They would come over and put the umbrellas up for us or whatever we needed. Now, just to note, there are a lot of vendors that come by in downtown Cancun. So if that's something that bothers you, just keep that in mind. Okay, so now it's time for the food and drinks. And I was really hoping to have a better food experience this time around, but it was really pretty much the same. And again, it was really good breakfast and lunch, so nothing to complain about there. Anything and everything that you would want. And then at night was where the issue was. The restaurants just do not seem to have the same level of quality as do the buffets, and there are no dinner buffets. When we first got there, we went to the lunch buffet, which is right by the pool. And again, it was really good. They have made to order chicken, hamburgers, hot dogs. They will grill fish for you on the spot, fresh salads. So it was really good. Then the first night, we went to the Italian restaurant. And again, it was just average. I think everyone's dishes were just okay. And even more than that, the service was really not that great. You can tell that they had increased the capacity, but maybe not the staffing. But we only really experienced that in the restaurants at night. They seem to be very well staffed at the bars and throughout the day, except for at the coffee place, which you did have to wait for a little bit for coffee in the morning. There seemed to be only one person working there. The last night we went to Fuego, which is their steak restaurant, and again, it was just average. So while they have really amazing breakfast and lunch and things like that, the restaurants at night is not that great. And if that's important to you, that's something to think about. For me, I like to have a big breakfast, a lunch, and then I'm fine, so it's not a big deal for me. One thing I absolutely love about this resort is the 24-hour room service that's included with your stay. So you can even schedule it in the morning, which we did for breakfast one morning, and we had it delivered right to our room. We were able to have breakfast while watching the ocean. So that's always a plus. And if you get hungry at night or in the middle of the night, you can just order whatever you want and it's included. Now the drinks and the bartender service was among the best I've had at any resort. So they're very smart. They keep the bars very well staffed. And a lot of the bartenders have been there for years and years. So they know the people that are coming back. They know almost any drink that you want them to make. And they do have a pretty good selection of top shelf liquors. Okay, but I have to tell you about a little secret we found that is literally right across the street from the Sun Palace. And it's an amazing restaurant called Nachos. And it's not included with your stay, but I encourage you to treat yourself and go try it out. We went there to celebrate a 40th birthday, and I had read reviews online, and it did not disappoint, and it's not that expensive. I'm telling you, it's probably maybe $60 to $80 a head if you're having some of the best of the dishes there and drinks. I'm actually going to do a whole separate video about this restaurant because I was that impressed. We had made reservations to schedule our dinner during the sunset, which at this time it was around 5:45. So we had this beautiful table at the end right over the water, and we were able just to watch the sunset while we were served some of the most amazing fish, salads, steaks, anything and everything that you could think of. So I highly recommend walking over there, making a reservation, and just treating yourself to it. So now let's talk about the activities and what there is to do at this resort. And I do encourage you to download the Palace app. It will help you keep up to see what's going on for the day. And there definitely seemed to be more this time than last time because I think the capacity had increased. So they had more going on in the ballroom, although I never attended one of the shows that they had. And then at night, they always had something going on in the lobby. On the pool, they didn't just seem to have as much going on. They did have volleyball. They had entertainment going on. They had the saxophonist, but not as many games. But they had things more at the beach this time because I think the beach conditions were better. So they had some games down there, and they even had Zumba dancing one day. Well, I really want to focus on is the spa and the tour since I wasn't able to do that during the last review. And I want you to take caution on those resort credits because in my opinion, they're really a scam. And I'm going to do a whole other video about why I think so. But for instance, with the spa, I did call ahead of time. So if you want to use the spa or get a tour, make sure that you book this ahead of time. And I made my reservations. And when I was asking about what we could use our resort credits for, she sent me over the menu. There's very little that you can use them for, and you can only apply $100 per room, not per person. So there were actually a few of us per room using the services. So that was a little irritating. And then in addition, you still have to pay the services and the taxes. So even though it was a very nice experience, 4 services, it was 2 pedicures and 2 massages, cost about $500. And this is from a member. I have thousands and thousands of resort credits. So I have to say that was a little bit irritating, although the experience was very nice. Now, booking the tours, it was the same deal. There was only certain tours that you could apply credits towards. And there was one tour that I really wanted to go on that, of course, did not qualify for resort credits. And that was the Caribbean Sunset Tour to Isla Mujeres because I really wanted to experience what a tour was like. And I also wanted to go during the sunset. I'm actually going to do a whole other video on this tour. I'm going to have a lot of videos to put together, but it was definitely worth it because we really did have such a great time, even though there were a few flaws. So I want to give you some tips before booking. So this is booked by a third-party tour company. So you do pick up other people along the way at other resorts. Now, since we were in downtown Cancun, it really didn't take that much longer, but I would say the ride to the port was a good 30 minutes, maybe even a little bit more since we had to stop. We left at 3:15 in the afternoon, and I chose this tour because it was a shorter tour. We still wanted to see Isla Mujeres, and but didn't want to take a whole day since we were only traveling for 3 days and 3 noches. There was some disorganization between the resort and the tour company, so I had to ask a few times about what we needed to know before going, but we finally got it straight. But then once we got there, here you'll see that we had to do a check-in and pay an additional $15 per person to get onto Isla Mujeres. So it wasn't that clear. I did look at the PDF. Again, it does say that in very small type, but just know going into it, it was $69 a person, but then you pay an additional $15 per person for taxes. It also did not include any food. There were drinks on the boat. It was just basic level liquor, but you had to pay for beer if you wanted beer. So if you were going to get food on the island, which we did, that was not included. We didn't have to wait too long at the terminal, maybe 15 minutes, but right away I realized I forgot towels at the resort to bring. So you can buy them. You can also buy them once you're on the island. We opted not to, and it wasn't too bad. It does get a little chilly at night, especially after you've been in the water. So I would recommend definitely bringing towels. Also, a sweatshirt would probably be good too. They do bring a photographer on board as well. So she's going to take a lot of pictures. She's going to try to sell you some of the pictures. We actually didn't get any because we took a lot of our own. We did end up tipping her anyway because I felt like she did a lot of work. I kind of felt bad, but there was just none of the pictures that I thought that I really wanted. So we basically had the boat to ourselves, which was amazing. And this particular tour only runs 3 times a week, I think. So I was surprised that there were not more people on the boat, but we loved it. And the entertainment was so fun. So even though there weren't a lot of people on it, they kept the energy high. Again, they do have a bar. It's just regular rum, vodka, tequila. I think that was all they had. And then if you wanted to buy beer, of course, you could buy beer. So one downside I would say is that we did not get a lot of time on the island, maybe an hour, if that, maybe a little bit over an hour. But again, this tour was really to catch the sunset. So it's not to really explore the island. So once we got on the island, we had fun. We did some tequila shots. We went and had a little snack. Again, because there's really no food on the boat. When they come back, they give you these little sandwiches. But I recommend that you definitely eat something when you get on the island. So now for the highlight of this tour, and that was watching the sunset right off of one of the top beaches in the world, Playa Norte. And it's something I will never forget. It was literally amazing. We were partying and dancing the whole time while watching that sunset. So I highly recommend this tour. I will definitely do it again when I go back. It was just so fun. Even though there weren't a lot of us, they just kept the energy so high. And so sadly, when it was time to go back, remember I didn't get those towels. So I kind of regretted that because I didn't buy them on the island either. So make sure you bring those towels. And also, there is no food coming back. They give you like these little sandwiches, but I recommend either you bring snacks or that you get something while you're on the island. By the time we got back, it was like actually around 8:30. And again, it's hard. He said it's hard to get exact timing with the sunset and everything. So definitely recommend this tour. I'm going to do a whole video on it for a complete review as well. So final thoughts on the Sun Palace in downtown Cancun, and this was our second visit, so make sure you watch our first video as well if you're considering going to this resort. And I also want to mention, sometimes I get comments that they say I'm entitled and I'm complaining, and I am so grateful that I get to go on these trips at all. But I think it's important that you have good information and tips before going there, things that I wish I had, which is why I started this channel, and I appreciate anyone subscribing or following us so I can keep the content coming. So for this time going to the Sun Palace, the first thing I noticed was the vibe was much different. So it was much lower key. You know, more people were just looking to relax than party, which is fine. So if you're looking for that atmosphere, this is great. If you're looking for more of a lively party atmosphere resort, this is probably not the resort for you. The second thing was I am a member, but I still had to upgrade. But I do recommend the upgrade, whether you're a member or not. And just because of the room itself, also, you do get the waiter service right there on the beach, and the beach was so amazing. Now, last time, we couldn't even sit on the beach. So if you're just doing it for that, make sure that the beach conditions are, so that you can actually sit on the beach and enjoy it. The other thing was, saving the seats at the pool was very irritating. So if that's something that annoys you, this is not going to be the resort for you. I was annoyed by it as well, but they just don't have enough seating. So, and the fact, I guess they do allow people to save seats. It's only supposed to be for an hour. And I do think I did see some people pick, the workers picking up towels. The people had saved seats and they didn't come back. But again, just something to think about. Now, on the other side, there's a more quieter pool. There seemed to be more seats over there. I know I mentioned the service at night was really slow, but I want to reiterate that the service was amazing at the bars, the buffets, everywhere else pretty much was amazing. Now, for the upgrade, you do have a concierge on your level and you're supposed to go check in with that person. And we never did. But I was thinking at the concierge level, they should be checking in with you, but that's just not how it works at this resort. Also, for those resort credits, the spa experience was really nice. It was really great. But again, you're going to end up spending a lot of money even with the resort credits, even if you're using something towards it, because you can only use so much and then you have to pay a service fee and something else. So just keep that in mind, and also book those reservations before you get there because they do often sell out. Same thing with the excursion. I highly recommend the excursion we went on, but the resort credits don't apply to it. So if you want to go through that list and find something that resort credits apply to, that's great. But I believe there's also fees, the taxes and service fee also involved. You can also use resort credits in the gift shop. But again, there's so many strings attached. Like with the sunglasses, you can only use $50. Same with the jewelry. I found a couple things, but then it didn't apply because they were on sale. And so it just really becomes too much of a headache. It's just not worth it in my mind. And please do yourself a favor, go over to Navios across the street for dinner. I know you're staying at all inclusive, but I'm telling you, it was one of the most amazing meals I think I've ever had. It was just not only the view, but the food itself and the service was really top notch, and it's not that expensive. Again, overall, I would definitely recommend this resort, especially for people that are looking for a much lower vibe. I love the fact that it's so close to the airport, and I love the layout of it. I really do like that small resort layout. So you're not doing so much walking, and everything is right there as you need it. So I hope you found this video helpful. And if you did, please like and subscribe and follow us on 3 days and Trace Noches while we take you on fun, exciting, and affordable adventures and vacations that you can have in just a really short amount of time. You don't need a whole week to have an amazing vacation.